Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimoooooooo coming back at you guys with yet another live duel commentary. So on the left we have Subterror and on the right we have Cyber Dragon. If there was a battle for tier 2, this would probably be it for this format. Both these decks very viable options for the current format, but they're just shy or maybe lacking in some regard that they just aren't in that tier 1 status. But you should definitely expect to see these maybe at regional levels or even local levels like we're getting in this video here. So they're definitely still decks that you need to be mindful of if you're planning on playing in any sort of competitive level event. So Subterror starting off with a Hidden City, which is effectively the rota for the deck, searching out a Subterror Guru. He's going to set the Guru, then use the Hidden City to flip up the Guru, and that will trigger Guru's ability that when flipped you get to add a Subterror card from deck to hand. I mean, it's a pretty strong start from Guru here, just simply due to the fact that if it can get its Guru established, then you can start just flipping things around, getting that advantage generated through adding cards like Subterror Fiendus, which is a hand trap that essentially negates any card, which is pretty good. That's going to pretty much establish you in a very solid position, backed by a few back row, of course, just because Subterror Guru is a control style deck. We are going to see some back row being placed here by our Guru Control player, 3 as a matter of fact, so that's a pretty solid opening. So even though that Guru did get negated by Valor, it's not actually the worst thing, just because, yeah, he doesn't have the Fiendus necessarily off the search, but if he has a Fiendus in hand, if he hard drew it, then he could be in a pretty solid position, because Fiendus can just flip that Guru back down and he'll be perfectly fine. But the back row might be able to suffice and do its job pretty well. Now, Cyber Dragon's the deck I want to talk about too. We see a copy of Cyber Emergency going to kick things off here. The deck's Rota as well, being able to add the just pretty much any Cyber Dragon card you wish to your hand. Just a strong card all around, so he's going to get a normal copy of Cyber Dragon here. Now, Cyber Dragon's really good for a couple reasons. First off, with Sky Striker being one of the best decks of the format, it just has a really good Striker matchup because you can Contact Fuse away any of the Sky Striker monsters and basically be able to make it so that Ray won't be able to summon back to the field. We're going to see Cyber Dragon get special summoned, followed by a normal summon of Core. Core has an ability on normal summon that can add a Cyber Spell or Trap to his hand, so we're going to probably see that effect be used here as well. So Cyber Dragon not only does have a good Sky Striker matchup, but we're also starting to see a Cyber Dragon Orcust build come up. I'm not exactly sure if this player on the right here has incorporated the Orcust cards, or this is more a pure build. The fact that we're seeing Cyberload Fusion tends to have me believe that this is more of a pure variant. This is effectively like a quick play spell, almost like an El Shaddai fusion of sorts for Cyber Dragon. So that, again, that lends me to believe that this is more of a pure variant, because I don't believe the Orcust builds are playing Cyberload Fusion. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. Cyber Dragon still has a very good Striker matchup and is pretty good against the meta, as we saw. There's a Machine Duplication that could be huge here, but there is 3 back row that he's having to play into with this. But Machine Duplication just being one of those blowout cards that if you have the Core and the Machine Duplication, your opponent has no response, you might just win the game on the spot. But there can be only one, and that is a huge blowout to the Cyber Dragon player here, because now he's only allowed to control 1 machine on his field, which means Machine Duplication won't get to summon anything else out. It's just such a shame because that card is so powerful. There can be only one, arguably one of the best floodgates of the format. We see Cyber Dragon take out the Guru, and he might just pass here. I mean, there's not really a whole lot he can do because his deck is primarily comprised of machines, apart from maybe like the hand traps that he incorporates in his deck. And that might be another reason why, you know, there are some ways to go about handling this card specifically, especially if you know your deck is weak to it. You might want to play stuff like Cosmic Cyclone, which is starting to see a lot more play in the main deck. Twin Twister, especially if you're playing Cyber Dragon, might just be a good option, because if you're going second deck, you might be okay with that. So we see Subterror Fiendus come down. Using its effect, it's going to special summon back Guru, and then they both set themselves face down. So that's just really solid because it has the recursion element, and then the Hidden City can flip up Guru, trigger its effect, and continue the advantage generating engine that this deck has that's so good. Obviously, you do need the Guru and the Hidden City for this engine to kind of get going, but once it's established, it's in a very good position. Obviously, also not faltering that there can be only one, since Fiendus and Guru are all different types. I believe all the Subterrors are also different types, so you really have nothing to worry about in that regard. Guru searching a copy of Subterror Final Battle, such a powerful card. I mean, it's a trap card that resets itself after it's used and has 4 different effects. I'm really a fan of these modal effects where you just have such flexibility in a card, and like imagine if some other archetypes had a trap like this, it would be absurd. So we see Guru gonna flip Cyber Dragon face down, which isn't the end of the world. I mean, obviously, again, Guru plays a very slow game. It can dish out some damage after some some time goes on, but we're gonna have to see how the Cyber Dragon player navigates this, because this could be one of its more difficult matchups. There's an overload fusion though, so flipping that copy of the Cyber Dragon face down enabled that overload fusion to be live, but Solemn Judgment was going to take that out, so we are going to see 4,000 life points be depleted from the Guru player's side. But again, he is playing control. He doesn't have too much to worry about here because there isn't really a whole lot he can do under that there can be only one. Overload Fusion might have been his ability to come back, because then he could have potentially made something like a Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon to pop that there can be only one and start going off, but that Solemn Judgment made quick work of that. Now, this is a difficult matchup, I would say, for Cyber Dragon, simply because Guru doesn't use the extra monster zone or extra deck really to much capacity aside from Pot of Extravagance just to banish cards. And so why that's so crucial is because Cyber Dragon generates a lot of its advantage from just being able to contact fuse away cards, and then it can just pretty much go off and just have this explosivity behind it to be able to OTK. But it doesn't really have that advantage here. And again, backed by Floodgates, like there can be only one, this might be a very difficult one for Cyber Dragon here. So we see Twin Twister actually come down here. It's going to go ahead and take out the, the Hidden City, as well as that there can be only one, but a second Solemn Judgment is going to deny that Twin Twister, and then we're going to see, this is just so rough for the Cyber Dragon player. He even has the Twin Twister for the out, but the second Solemn Judgment making it that much more difficult for him to do that. So we are going to see the Hidden City use its ability to negate the attack from Cyber Dragon and then flip up the Guru, which will trigger Guru's effect, allowing the Subterror player to search. And this is just, I would say this, I don't want to like speak too early here, but I think the Subterror player should have this one in his control. He's getting a copy of Umastrix now, a typical one of in the Subterror deck. Some players have actually been opting to cut it because it can be a bit of a brick, but it is nice because it can banish cards, so it does have that ability, but it's also a pretty strong monster as well. And we see the Cyber Dragon player just passing. It's really rough, and now we see a Pot of Extravagance off the top, just making it that much more difficult for the Cyber Dragon player to have any hopes of coming back. He's just out of so much advantage at this point. Yeah, there's a core in his graveyard, but I don't really think he's going to be able to do much with that. Cyber Dragon's just sitting there, and the Guru player just kind of has full lock on this duel at the moment. We'll have to see, though. I mean, maybe there's still hope. Again, Guru does play a bit of a slow game, but it looks like the Guru player is making full, quick work of this matchup here. So we see the Hidden City flip down the Guru, and that is going to trigger the Umastrix's effect in hand to special summon itself out to the field. Now he's going to go ahead and play a second copy of Hidden City, which then allows him to get another Subterror card from his hand. We see the Cyber Dragon player just nodding his head. He's like, yep, you got it. Let's see it. Oh man, when you're in that position, it can be so rough sometimes. But this is showcasing why Guru actually has, a pretty good standing in the current metagame, because once it gets established, especially backed by cards like Solemn Judgment, like There Can Be Only One, it can actually be a very difficult deck to play around, and there's a lot of really good advantages to a control deck like this. So Guru's going to flip up. Now we're going to see another search here. The advantage just keeps going and going. We're going to have to see. I wonder if he's going to be able to just kind of win at some point. We see a copy of Archer now. Archer could be a normal summon for this turn to potentially spin back the set Cyber Dragon, because I believe it has that effect, almost similar to Aaron Lightsworn Monk for any old school Lightsworn players who remember that card being played. So we're going to have to see at this point. We're going to flip up the Umastrix now. Umastrix is going to actually banish the Cyber Dragon. Okay, so we're not even going to go that route. We're just going to go ahead and banish the Cyber Dragon instead. We're going to normal summon the Archer, and then we're going to flip up the Fiendus, and this is going to give us a significant amount of damage here. And then he's going to have the Subterror Final Battle to bolster the attack of one of his Subterror monsters, and that basically should be game, I think. Just from there, and it looks like the players are scooping up, and we're going to go to game number 2. Now, sideboards included here. I'm interested to see if the Cyber Dragon player wants to go first or second. I would imagine in this instance you want to go first, just because you can actually establish your board before Subterror can establish cards like There Can Be Only One, different things like that. But then again, we'll just have to see But it actually looks like he's allowing the Guru player to go first. Granted, when you have the side deck in, there could be a lot more cards to include, like maybe you have more Spell and Trap Hate, like more cards like Twin Twister, maybe Cosmic Cyclone, Mystical Space Typhoon, different things like that. Maybe you have Evenly Matched, or maybe you have Red Reboot. Red Reboot could even be another one that could just lock out all opposing back row. So, I mean, maybe that's the route. It just depends on what his sideboard cards are. But we're going to see a special summon of Naster here by being able to discard a Cyber Dragon. And it looks like the Cyber Dragon player just explaining how the card works briefly before the Subterror player allows that card to resolve. Then the Naster is going to use the effect to special summon Cyber Dragon from the graveyard, or specifically a monster with, I believe, 2100 attack or defense, I believe the card reads. And now he's taking a quick glance at his hand here, deciding how he wants to navigate this, because although there's no Guru and there is no Hidden City, he still has to work around those 3 back row. And it could be difficult just depending on what else he has in his hand and if maybe this is like the extent of his play, but I'm not too sure. He should be able to have something else going on here. It looks like he's going to go for a Link summon. Maybe for a Seeger? Yeah, so it looks like he's going to go for Seeger, the Cyber Dragon Link monster. Not the most terrifying card. It does give you a nice arrow to work with, but it can be tricky in battle phase situations to work around just because it can double the attack values of certain cards and can be pretty annoying to deal with. There's an Overload fusion again, though. We see that for the 2nd game in a row, so now we might just see a Rampage Dragon come down and be able to just take out all of these back row here. So Rampage Dragon, most likely get a trigger here, I would have to guess. And we're going to see, it looks like they're deciding if he wants to, the Subterror player wants to let that effect resolve. And it looks like he's going to go for one of the back row being the middle one, and the one on the left being, oh man, Super Poly as well as Crackdown. That is unfortunate. But now we're going to see the Rampage Dragon's effect go down here, where he gets to send Cyber Dragons to the graveyard to give him additional attacks. I don't remember if it's attacks on monsters or if it's attacks in general, but we'll just have to see. Either way, he's going to be loading up his graveyard, specifically with Hers and Core. That allows him to use the Hers' effect to add the Core to his hand. So he's not really caring about the attacks, he just wants to get the advantage, and that gives him a normal summon of Core. And there's a Nibiru! Oh my god! The blowout. That was the 5th summon, so we're gonna see Nibiru come down now, dropping the rock, and that's gonna give the Subterror player the Nibiru, and it's gonna give the Cyber Dragon player a token. The token's gonna have 4600 attack, I believe, which it's going to defense mode, so it doesn't really matter too much. But wow, Nibiru showcasing its power, and this is just a card that you really have to worry about if your deck summons more than 5 times consistently. Obviously, Subterror doesn't have to worry about this too much because it's very rare that the deck will do that, but man, that is just an insane blowout here. So now we see Core using its ability on resolution of this whole chain here, and he's going to add a copy of Cyberload Fusion to his hand. Again, I don't know how effective this is going to be, but it looks like he's going to go ahead and activate it. So he's going to go ahead and shuffle back the Cyber Dragon and the Naster. This will get him another Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, potentially. And it is. Okay, so another Rampage Dragon coming down here. And I was going to go ahead and use Rampage's ability to pop the last back row. So he made work of the back row. There can be only one back there, which wouldn't have done anything in this particular instance. He's going to send more copies of Cyber Dragon to the grave with its ability, so there go 2 more Cyber Dragons. Now he can use that Rampage Dragon to attack over the Nibiru, because Nibiru does only have 600 defense. But, I mean, even though he staved off being OTK'd here, Subterror player is going to have to crawl back into this, because he only has a 1 card in hand, it looks like. But at least Nibiru gave him a fighting chance, because otherwise he might have just been dead based on how the Cyber Dragon player was playing out his turn. So it looks like we're going to go to battle phase. The Rampage Dragon is going to attack over the Nibiru, and that might be all from the Cyber Dragon player, potentially. Looks like there's a couple cards still in his hand that could be used, but it looks like he's going to pass it back. And now the Subterror player, you know, staring down a Nibiru token that has a pretty hefty amount of attack, as well as the Rampage Dragon, and he's just going to scoop it up. So this is an instance where, now that we go to game 3, you get to see that while Nibiru is a very powerful card, if you don't have a way to really follow up after that or deal with the token that you created from Nibiru's effect, you could just outright lose to it. So very strong card, but, you know, not the most unfair card, I would say, either. So we're going to go here to game 3. Subterror is going to start us off naturally, and is just going to set 3 and pass, very similar to his game 2. Hopefully that doesn't end in the same way for him, but we'll just have to find out. Cyber Dragon player is going to draw for turn. Got a full grip of cards to work with here. Again, he made very sweet work of those back row last time, thanks due in part to the Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon just being such a powerful tool, being able to summon multiple in a turn, as a matter of fact. But let's see what he's got now. Taking his time deliberating, we're going to start off with a copy of Core that will add any Cyber Spell or Trap to the hand. The Subterror player immediately flipping up There Can Be Only One, and we see a Twin Twister in response here, pitching a copy of Pankratops, and there's a Solemn Judgment. Okay, I find it really interesting that the Cyber Dragon player didn't lead with the Pankratops, because if he led with Pankratops first, he could have used Twin Twister on the remaining 2 back row potentially if There Can Be Only One was played, and Pankratops is a different type from all the machines in his deck, so he wouldn't have had to forfeit that card to the There Can Be Only One's effect. So maybe he has multiple Pankratops, or maybe, I don't know, that just seems like an interesting discard on the Twin Twister there. Maybe he felt like Twin Twister would just get him there and he didn't need to go with the Pankratops, but interesting decision nonetheless. So we're seeing the resolution of Core here, going to add any Cyber Spell or Trap. As I said, he could go for stuff like Cyber Load. He could get another, there he could get Repair Plant, although he doesn't have Machine Engrave, so he wouldn't be able to add off of it. There's a lot of really good Cyber Spell and Trap cards that this deck has that you can add, Cyber Rev System being another one, although he doesn't have something he can revive. He's going to go for Rev System. You could potentially go into something like Almirage here, then use Rev System to special summon back the Core, and that actually does play under There Can Be Only One. Then you can make something like Phoenix to pop the There Can Be Only One, so there is actually some plays here. Maybe we're going to see that line. So we see Almirage come down, and we're most likely going to see that Rev System as a follow-up. And that's exactly what we got, targeting that Cyber Dragon Core. Subterror player, just going to quickly read it just to make sure. It is a Monster Reborn that is in theme for the archetype. I also believe the monster special summon can't be destroyed by battle. It has some other weird effect that probably doesn't come up too often, but you know, it could be. It's also important to read your cards for that reason. And that's why the Subterror player just making sure he understands everything going on. He's also going to take a read at Core here. Maybe just making sure that it doesn't have any other ability. It does have its Engrave ability that it could special summon a Cyber Dragon, but obviously that's not going to happen because he has a monster on the field, so that could happen in a later turn. Is he going to flip up that set? Is it another Solemn Judgment? Oh, Called by the Grave. That's actually really good. So that'll deny the Rev System from special summoning the Core from the graveyard. But Rev System can actually special summon Cyber Dragons from the hand as well. And it looks like the Cyber Dragon player's got plenty of options to work with here. So it looks like we're going to see a special summon of a Cyber Dragon come down. And now he has the Phoenix play potentially set up to take out this There Can Be Only One. And that might be it. He's just going to pass the turn. I think he's just going to pass the turn, and that's going to do it. So not much going on there. Now we're going to see a set card from the Subterror player. Is that a Guru? Because if it is, that could make a very big difference here. Interesting that the Cyber Dragon player did not opt to go for Phoenix. He should be playing in his extra deck, I imagine. Pot of Desires off the top, though, for the Cyber Dragon player. That's pretty huge. So it's going to banish 10. Is there a response? Doesn't look like it, so it looks like the Cyber Dragon player is going to get to draw 2 here. It's going to refresh his hand a little bit. Looks like one of those ulti Pot Desires too. Those look pretty nice. And so now with 4 cards in hand, can he get rid of this There Can Be Only One, which he has the tools on the field to be able to, assuming he's playing the Nightmare Phoenix, but if not, this could be a very big misstep from the Cyber Dragon player not being able to out it with just such a simple Link 2. Then again, he could also have other cards in his hand as well, but it looks like he has all monsters in his hand. I think there was like a Naster in there. He's just going to go to battle phase, and so there was a set Fiendus, so not the best card. And that's going to do it. He's just going to pass it back. And now the Subterror player just looking for any string of hope here. That Cyber Dragon is 2100 attack, which is a bit problematic for the Subterror player. And it looks like there was a new Mostrix, and I think that's it. I think the Cyber Dragon player just took it. He had a final battle set there as well, and that's going to do it. So the Subterror player did concede, and the Cyber Dragon player was going to get a machine duplication off the top. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video, and we'll see you next time.